Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports performance coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing this morning, D Mack?
What's going on, B? Happy Saturday to you. It's been a couple weeks. That's my fault, guys. I apologize to everybody. No pregame shows. I've been handling family business. Anyway, good to be here. Good to be on.
Yep.
We got a game today. We got a winnable game today. You know what I'm saying? We got a winnable game. So let's get to it and let's see if we can cheer these Sooners on to a victory.
That's right, man. You guys don't need no college game day, no big noon kickoff. You keep it tuned right here to the Barry and Mack Show. We will make sure you guys get your fix. As always, want to remind everybody, show's brought to you by OU Insider, OUinsider.com. Go over there, get yourself a membership, all the team news, recruiting news, and the like. And the Chalk Talk DMAC, a lot of good feedback on there. If you guys are not members, go over to our YouTube page, hit join, only $2.99, super easy to sign up and get all the Chalk Talk stuff. So OU going to Missouri, have not been there since 2010, DMAC. It is and that one ended up in a loss. However, OU offensively seems to be at least finding a little bit of a rhythm the last couple games. As you've stated, it looks like they have an identity, that they know kind of where they want to get to, what they want to get to. The run game has looked significantly better. Barnes is hitting the hole a little better. Jackson Arnold looks a little bit more comfortable. Now, the big question, right, is does that translate today playing a team like Missouri in Columbia? That's not, it's not it's not Neyland Stadium, it's not going to Ole Miss even, but it's still an away game. It's still going to be tough. However, you get Deion Burks and Farouk likely back. They are now on the injury report listed as probable, which maybe that's a probable win for the Sooners. But DMAC, what does the offense need to do to be able to go up there and get things started well and get a W, right? I'm asking you this from the perspective of think back to games where you were going to an away game and you knew that, you needed to get the momentum early. You needed to feel good. The OU, maybe get a 2-touchdown lead for a change, create some early separation. What has to happen for that to take place?
A two touchdown lead would be wild, first of all. But first of all, I think it's really important. All puns intended. They come out dancing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little Michael Jackson.
That's right, baby.
If you know. Somebody posted in the comments and said they saw you dancing too. If you guys haven't seen Barry dancing, you got to go see the boy dance. He's hilarious. But anyway, no, I think listen. First quarter is going to be. In fact, let me take it a little deeper. The first possession of the game, offensively and defensively, are going to be very important. Missouri has as many questions as we have. They know they are half the team without their starting quarterback. By the way, he's a floor general, man. The guy's a good player. Cook's a good player, and so with him out, that's a good sign for us. I'll also say this. I think the big bad secret was let out the bag Tuesday when Jackson let out the names Farouk and Burks, right? And so I think, the initial injury report showing that they were questionable, we all took it with a grain of salt just because the quarterback, he knows who he's throwing the ball to in a Tuesday practice. Guys, listen, a Tuesday practice is the guys you're going to be playing with. Tuesday, Wednesday, you go full go. You're generally in full pads. Maybe not this late in the season. They may be in shells just to keep guys healthy. But those are the 2 days you're going to be practicing game type scenarios, full speed, so on and so forth. So for him to be throwing the ball to those guys on Tuesday and to speak to it Tuesday night, I think that's what gave everybody the confidence to go with the fact that those guys will be playing. in my opinion, those guys are game changers. I spoke to this, I think, a little bit on the midweek report, but like I said, all fall, all summer, all spring, Jackson Arnold's been throwing the ball to the one receivers. And so we remember earlier in the year when we had all these injuries, I think Gibson goes down first and then Andrew plays a play and Anderson, everybody, what the heck's going on, right? We've got all these mysterious wonderings happening. Then we've got a team full of or a crew full of second team receivers, and those are not the guys that Jackson's been throwing the ball to. And so that makes a difference. I just want everybody to know that. So for those guys to come back, I think there's going to be that familiarity. I think there's going to be that comfort. I think there's going to be just that muscle memory. When Burks runs a slant against this coverage, this is what it looks like. Those of you who've had the chance to check out our chalk, right? When I would run routes with Hype would say, Mackey, it's too high. And then he would say, Mackey, it's single high, you're hot. And then he'd say, Mackey, it's a big zone. Where do you settle? Right. So like we would literally take the exact same route. And if we both saw the defense pre-snap and what we were expecting to happen, he knew where the window was. I knew where I needed to get to. And so those are things you create chemistry with your ones, with your starters. Right. And so I think, those guys coming back and being in positions to, take those bang eight slants, take those over routes, the drag routes, those routes. It's a drag until it's zone, and then it's a drag stop curl, right? You drag until you find the window and you stop and you curl up and the quarterback's going to put on your face, right? A freshman may just be thinking drag because the play has a tag that says X drag or something like that. The one says, oh man, all summer, right? Jack said, hey, if you see that second window, slow down. I'm going to put it on you. And they know how to create that chemistry. That only happens when you've been working with the guys that you spent hourless times with. I think the very first possession is going to be a psychological opportunity for us because Missouri's watched film. Let me say this part. I think a lot of people don't really understand these aspects of the game. Missouri's watched film. They've watched South Carolina. They've watched Tennessee, right? And so let me just give you guys examples. We'd watch film. Let me who's a team? Who's a team that I can say? Colorado. We watched film in Colorado. Colorado had some stuff going on. I don't remember what the hell it was, but they had some stuff going on with the team, and they had some hodgepodge, meaning like different players, right? Maybe they had some injuries, and this guy had to play, and that guy had to play, and whatever, right? But in the back of your head, you're like, it's still Colorado. Colorado don't suck. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
you're watching film and you're seeing some of these lesser teams have success against Colorado. And I'm talking about the 99 season. And we're like, okay, you know what I'm saying? If Rutgers can go to Colorado and get 282 passing yards, we might
Yeah.
we might have something happening, right?
Yeah.
But then game week comes and it's like, oh shit, Eric Bieniemy, you know what I'm saying? Cordell Stewart, you're thinking about like, yo, they got dudes over there, you know what I'm saying? Like, and boom, game day comes. It was not an easy game. Obviously, we lose.
Mhm.
Missouri has watched film and saw the OU from October, late September, right? And some of those games where they're like, oh man, they tried. They seeing some of the things on film that we've seen on film and have all, cried about what the hell were they thinking, right? Brown comes to mind and opening the porch against Temple week one. Like he's literally opening the porch first week. Well, 7, 8 weeks into the season, Oklahoma should feel better about itself going into this game than they have in previous weeks. They got the quarterback back. They got the offensive identity, right? I don't never say anything too positive about this offensive line group per se, but they are playing better today than they were a month ago. And Missouri is one of our little brothers from the past. They got hallways in that university, and in those
Yeah.
hallways they got a history, and on that history there are certain things missing because we just happen to be standing in their way in yesteryear. And those listen, it's not a conscious aspect of the game, but it is a subconscious. Guys, when we used to play Nebraska, I grew up in the 90s and knew Nebraska versus Florida State, Nebraska, Michigan, 1997, Frost, Behringer. By the way, Behringer was cold. If you don't know
Yeah.
who he was, he's a kid who passed away right after Tommy. I knew them. And when they were on our schedule, I was like, oh shoot, we got Brad. You're right. So like I'm telling you, there's guys at Mizzou who they know OU has been on the schedule for years, and they know they don't have a very deep history because they had to see us. There's going to be that little extra if we come out the gates, hit them in the mouth, and whether we looked easy on film, but if possession one, we lean on them. Possession one, we form tackle them. Possession one, we let them know whatever y'all saw on film ain't the team you playing today. It's going to create
Mm,
it's going to create an advantage. And so we have to know, like, it's the part of the game, Barry, that I get so upset about, right? Because I'm like, this is the thing we would not have missed out on. Oh, we would have been like, bro, it's Mizzou. They know what time it is. Like we
yeah.
know how we would have addressed that week of practice. I know how we would have addressed pregame and coming onto the field. And I hope our guys have enough again gumption when that gorilla that them gorilla nuts we talk about. I hope they have enough of that because that could be an advantage that they could take advantage of.
Yeah, and I think having some of the young guys, be a part of the offensive line grouping is going to be big in this one. Well, what we saw from EPL, that there were a couple plays highlighted, but when you go back and watch the film, he was the most consistent with finishing plays, with bringing that level of intensity to the game, that he has to get snaps in something like this. He's the kind of guy who elevates that level of everybody else. You feel it, you see it, and it's a big factor, right? And now Isaiah Autry, we'll see how that goes. He had some good moments. He had some moments that weren't so good. He struggled in the run game at times, just kind of moving guys, just being young, not quite as strong. But in pass pro, he looked really good, and really that's been OU's talk about biggest issue for explosive plays, right? It's been Jackson being able to have time to create to allow receivers to get open, right? And especially late in the game when you're dealing with 1-2 possessions, you have to have that time to be able to let guys work their routes. Maybe having an Isaiah Autry in there changes that, is a big factor. If you're talking defensively, right? You got Weiss, you got Burden, they starting quarterback Cook will not be playing, but you still got guys at receiver. You still have a running back who's pretty good. His name escapes me now, but you got a running back who's pretty salty, right? OU though without Barnes today. I don't know if you saw that. It seemed they will not have Barnes playing, so we'll see how that goes. But DMAC defensively, let's talk about what they need to do, especially in the secondary,
Yep.
right, to prevent some of the big explosives that are going to potentially happen. Well, what do you do from a coverage standpoint? What the guys like Billy and Peyton and RSJ, the guys playing over the top, what has to happen to prevent some of those bigger plays from taking place in this one, especially early in the game, right? Not getting down, not losing that momentum. I don't think this is an OU team that is really built and has the experience to play from behind
No
and to
shit.
yeah. So what do you do to prevent that from taking place?
Well, I think this is a week you're excited that you have a coach like Venables as your DC and your think tank, just because what you want to do is when you know you're playing against a quarterback who is going to be inexperienced, who's not going to be having had 400 or 500 snaps this season, you want to confuse him. And so I think this is a week for us to play a ton of zone. I think this is a week for us to show 6 at the line of scrimmage, a 30 front with 3 backers or 2 backers in the A gap, 1 in the alley, and then blitz out of it sometimes, jump out of it sometimes, jump in the man at the snap of the ball, jump into hard corner sometimes and squat the flats, and sometimes trail and go into a cover 4. Sometimes I'm watching our defense and I say, we're overthinking it, and I get upset. I've been on our pod plenty. I'm like, why are we overthinking this? Like, why don't we just do this, right? And take away what they want to do and make them adapt. I think this is a week where we do the opposite.
Mhm.
I do think this is a week where we show them multiple. We show cover 3 one possession, and the next possession we're in 2 high. The next possession we're in a 30 front. The next possession we're in a 40 front, and then BV do what he does best, which is show multiple fronts pre-snap and then something different at the snap of the ball. And then usually that means some pressure is coming from a place that the offense typically is not expecting it. We want this game to be difficult on their quarterback. If the game is difficult on that guy, everybody else is nullified to a degree. We're gonna have to stop. Listen, there's gonna be a couple tunnel screens to Burden that we're gonna have to come up and be physical and tackle. Right, we got to be strong in the alley because that kid, he's explosive on the outside. And he's also really
Yes.
good with the ball in his hand. You
He's
know,
an
he reminds
NF who?
he's a CD Lamb type player. He
Oh,
reminds me of a CD
100%.
Lamb.
Yeah.
He
He's
gives.
a first round NFL guy, man. He's really I think he's the best receiver in the SEC.
I don't know about that. I don't
Who's
know. I
better?
don't know. I would see there. You're gonna have me go digging down rabbit holes.
Yeah,
But
I think he's the best guy in the SEC. Anyways, yeah, carry on.
see now, there you go. So I'll be texting you during the game. After I do some research. But we gotta stop Luther. I think the running back for Missouri is nicked up. I know he's on the questionable, or he was on the questionable
Mhm.
list early in the week, but I think he's gonna give it a go. Which he runs hard. He's got good vision. He's a guy that if we aren't careful, he could take the game over too. Their offensive line is not in the same scenario as ours, but they've underwhelmed. And so with an offensive line that has not met expectations and with a brand new quarterback, to me, it just makes a ton of sense to put that guy in a lot of at the and post snap scenarios that he's just not comfortable with. And I'm
Yeah.
sure again the Mizzou staff is prepping him for that. But yeah,
Oh
defensively,
yeah, Ryan Williams. Who's the other guy? Somebody just commented. Ryan Williams. Yeah, yeah. Bird is gonna be too.
I've had his name, but Ryan's a true freshman.
Yeah,
Burden has more creds than him, and Ryan's
yeah.
kind of. And the thing is, there's good receivers in the SEC.
Oh
Was
yeah.
my point.
Anyways, carry
Ryan,
on.
I had thought about Ryan, but I don't
Yeah,
know that he's necessarily better than Burden today.
that's true.
But anyway, um, defensively, we just need to tackle.
Mhm.
I think this is another game where we need R&T to show up. This is another game where we need. I'd like to see Stone get more snaps.
Yeah.
Stone, I think, has earned his way, especially on passing downs, third and medium, third and long. He's a guy who's shown he has some skill sets and the ability to, just get penetration, and not even just get penetration, actually get there, right? Get home. And so I'd like to see him get some opportunities to play. And also, I want to see the puppies. I do. I was thinking about when we talked about on the midweek report. Give me Eli and give me Jacoby. Let those guys get 60% of the defensive snaps. With all due respect, again, I'm not going to say his name. I'm just going to say his number. With all due respect to Five, like I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him at Cheetah. If he's like a secondary safety, I'm cool with that. Just
Yeah.
because the kid is not a terrible football player, but when he's asked to cover underneath, I don't know if he just lost his confidence or what the hell is going on, but I don't want to see him in any of the underneath zones. I don't want to see him carrying people on medium routes just because he has struggled all year. He's consistently struggled all year. And to me, he's not in the top four. Even the two that Malone and Kanai have regressed, I would say. They are substantially more impressive than Five. And so I think that, the limits on him is good. Tackling in the alley. And then, like you said earlier, there's going to be a couple of plays. They're going to call a 4-step or a progression fade, go route, right? And they're going to ask Burden to go make a play, or they're going to put him in the slot. He's going to run a skinny post. He's going to run a post on the backers, and they're going to see if our safeties are paying attention to the two receiver, and if he can split them or get a step behind them, right? They're going to try to put him in a couple situations for him to go make a splash, and we've got to be prepared for that and stop him.
Yeah, man. Going back to David Stone, watching the film, and I challenge everybody, man. Just want to have some fun. Go watch South Carolina, and then go watch this last game against Maine. Stone just looks like a well-developed three tech who's got all the hand movement. He's got the side to side. He's got the spin. He has really taken to and he had some of this coming out of high school, right? There was a little bit there. I almost wonder if OU held him, and maybe this is overthinking it a little bit, but I know there's a psychological piece to he was so highly touted and he had so that you want them confident, right? But maybe there was a little bit of the coaching staff of saying, hey, We need to take you down and show you that you still need to develop a little bit. And maybe that's why he didn't get some of the early snaps. But man, as he's been playing, he has so much in his bag that we have not seen since a Gerald McCoy, in terms of just the explosiveness out of his feet, the ability to get side to side, the ability to beat guys from any angle. Right? He's not a one trick pony in terms of moves. Right? He's not a, Perry on Winfrey was really good, but if Perry on Winfrey didn't win at the snap, he wasn't going to win the play necessarily. Right? He had to win by getting off the ball, getting in the gap, and then being a huge factor. Stone can win many different ways, right? And he can play the long game with that tackle, with the guard. It doesn't matter. I want to ask from from a coaching standpoint on the offensive side of the ball, particularly as it goes for Joe John Finley. Is there is there a world now where you're at the end of this season and rotations have been so weird at the running back spot? Do you take a day like today where you have injuries and we don't know if there is, obviously dissension within the coaching staff. I don't want to say that or allude to any of that, but does Joe John say, "Hey, these are the backs that I want to see playing today versus this defense. These are the guys who I want to run with. Well, we don't have Barnes. Here's how I want to go about this." And that my second piece of that is, do you think OU comes out with who they have? Is there some different nuance to the run game? Do you think these guys that they have, maybe different play style or a different scheme style may fit them better? Don't know if we'll see a whole lot of Sawchuk. I imagine we'll see more. I know he's had some injury things he's been kind of dealing with, but definitely Xavier Robinson, definitely
Tatum.
Franklin and Tatum, right? So what do you think with that? Do you think OU goes out there and does things a little differently? What are your thoughts?
I guess I'll speak to the kind of packages first. I'm positive that they are going to add to what they've shown. And again, I think the best reference point for what we're going to be doing the last 3 games of the season is to simply go watch our offense the last 2 seasons, just because last week it was very clear cut. By the way, easy to see. I saw in the second possession, oh, we are literally going back to our old stuff. We're running the same formations, stuff we ran towards the end. We were still in the 12 personnel with the offline tight end as a sniffer, but a lot of the stuff that we ran with Jackson. And so I know that, well, the other thing is that they did bring the counter and some gap
Hmm.
assignments. I mean, that was very clear
Yeah.
that they were going to run
And
that
they
stuff.
did some stuff off the counter, like some play action
They,
type stuff.
And
Yeah.
you know what see, you're gonna get me going off on a tangent. We don't play action enough off of our stuff, but
Hmm.
that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
To your question, yes, we're gonna see some different additions and tweaks to what we've seen. I imagine running out of different formations, but also probably a couple different tracks for the running back. I think it's pretty easy for the coaches to see now what we've all been craving and really yelling and screaming is stop running in the A and B gap and start hitting the C gap or the alley and off the edge, right? Our guys have a better track record of success when they're coming off the tackle guard gap and then obviously outside the tackle. And so I think we'll see more of that. I think it's interesting that Barnes doesn't play. I think it's bad luck for him. He was building a lot of momentum. People who listen to our pod know how I feel about him, but when people start to ascend and improve, you got to give him props. And
Got to give them props.
I think he deserves his flowers. However, However, it'll be interesting to see how today plays out because if one of those guys has a good game against Missouri, it's more likely that they will continue to see carries just because Maine is Maine. And with all due respect to our offense, we haven't had a 100-yard rusher. And when you have a 200-yard rusher against an FCS team, it kind of, takes away from what the expectations were because of the low ceiling. And so
Yeah.
if we can, if Barnes were healthy today and could back that up with a 100-yard day or 80, 90-yard day with some really good runs that were going to keep chains moving and first downs and maybe a touchdown, I think he solidifies himself as the guy, probably even going into next season. But if today someone else takes advantage of that, I think it leaves things in the balance where there really isn't a true rotation. All of our coaches are fighting for their lives. I th- and I don't know. I don't have any insider information. This is just my own opinion. I think Joe John is probably the one with the least amount of certainty, right? Does Joe John do an adequate job of calling plays and in some ways improve our offense? I wouldn't say fix, but improve our offense.
Sure.
And then he's not asked to be back as the OC. Does he come back as a tight ends coach, which is an entry level offensive position, right? Or does he say, "Hey, I have shown that I can call plays." There's probably a Texas State. Well, I'm just throwing names out there, right? There's probably some smaller tiered school that would hire me as an OC on my journey to, continue to grow and promote in the coaching circle. So I think he's a guy who does want to have as much control over what happens in his time as play caller as possible. But the thing is, he's going against guys who every week they get further and further away from Seth, being let go and the offense improving. They better their chances at sticking around, right?
Yeah.
I know DeMarco's like, I got a good group, and recruiting wise and continuity wise, and I think there's something to be said about the nepotism of him being a Sooner, right? Those things are going to keep him around, right? Beatonbow has his best class, and he has a full class of linemen, and linemen is our most, it's our area of most concern. Do we want the year we finally have 4 or 5 top guys with 2 or 3 top shelf tackles, right? Do we want to go away from the coach that year? That's part of it. We got to talk about it. And so the more they show improvement, the more distance they get away from Seth, the more likely they keep their job. So
Yeah.
if you're asking me about running back, yeah, I think Joe John absolutely wants control. But if you're asking me about running back, yeah, I think DeMarco wants control too, because they're both fighting 2 separate battles, right? DeMarco's like, screw you, I'm trying to stick around. Joe John's like, screw you, I'm trying to show that I can do something. And if I can't stay, I'll have a better place, a landing spot. So, that whole um, hierarchy of egos and expectations is happening. They're jockeying for that right now. There's no question in my mind that that's happening. It takes a good leader. And so that's where it falls on BV to be in constant communication with his OCs and those guys having a plan in place. It falls on maturity, right? People wanting what's best for the kids, not necessarily their own self-interest. And so that stuff would be interesting. I want to speak to Stone. You brought up Stone. Stone was not consistent enough. It's all relative. If Stone played any other position besides D tackle, he would have been paying a million snaps. But with all due respect to Stone, he got beat out at the zero technique by Jaden.
Yeah.
And by the way, Stone does not want to be a zero, right? So that's good for him. But he's going against Dominic Williams and Terry. You're talking about a 50-year
Experienced
guy
guys.
who's been in the SEC forever, and then Dominic, who was a guy who we laid a bunch of money on, who has not underperformed. But here's the thing: Dominic is not dynamic like Stone.
No.
Stone's ceiling is going to probably be 2xing Dominic's ceiling. And we'll see what Dominic does next season if he doesn't make a bad decision. But no, it'll be interesting to see. I listen. You go if you listen to our pod a month ago, I was not a Joe John fan. If you listen to our pod today, I'm a Joe John fan. So I'm excited to see, just because the nerd side of the game for me, I like to see how you build a playbook, how you scheme against an opponent, how you morph what you do versus someone who likes to play a cover 5, cover 2 look with a 2 high safety versus those who like to do a single high and they try to show bump. I'm curious, and it looks to me, it doesn't look to me. We have shown that we actually have an identity to recognize that and adapt. And so I respect Joe John for giving our offense the ability to do that. Somebody asked what position I would coach: receivers or DBs. I'd coach receiver, DBs if I ever had the safeties. I'm a defensive player, guys. I went to receiver because my freshman year, Mike Leach comes in, and there's literally 2 receivers on scholarship. And there's a room full of DBs. There's like 13 of us DBs, and there's 2 receivers. And Coach Leach, first thing he says is, "Guys, I want to throw the football. I wanted to catch the ball." So I said, "Hey, I'll try it out."
That's
But,
good. That's great.
But if I ever coach, it'd be receiver or DB.
Man, I wanted this is definitely going back to yesteryear. I want to ask, because I know fans are always curious about this stuff. I can't remember. Was Wolfolk recruited as a receiver?
DB.
Right, DB. Okay, and then switched to receiver, then
Me,
back
Kurt,
to DB.
and Dre are all DB recruits.
What caused? And I guess this is going back to the Jacoby Johnson. Just folks who were
Okay.
curious, because now that Jacoby's playing well at corner, right? I know people were excited at him switching to receiver. I think different other podcasts kind of elevated that. I think we put some more perspective on it over here, just in terms of what it was likely going to be, and that's what it turned out to be. Right?
Yeah.
It's
It's not
hard to
easy. It's
switch.
not easy to just flip. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
an easy flip.
it's not easy. But I want to ask, what enticed or caused the move? Was that a Woolfolk? Was that a coach? What was it by just depth? Well, what caused that move for Woolfolk to go over on DB?
Three things happened. Number one, Mike T got into a serious car accident. Michael Thompson, for those of you who don't remember, he almost passed away. Dude had a serious car accident. He was our starting corner opposite Derek Strait. And so you literally lose. Mike T was 6'1", a 10-500 guy, and 2 years playing. He was hippie at first, so we could wiggle on him, but he got
Yeah.
better. And so Mike T getting injured, we had a hole in the defense, and we had puppies. Number two is we had a couple of guys by the name of Will Peoples, Mark Clayton, Brandon Jones, and a few others come at receiver. And here's something crazy to say. By the way, this is crazy to say, but it's the truth. And I think Dre would admit this too. Dre was a better athlete than he was receiver. And so as freshman, he was just so much more athletic than. By the way, he was more athletic than all of us. Dre could dunk a
Oh,
basketball
dude.
like nobody's business. Dre would piss me off because I couldn't run with Dre. And Sava was faster than me, and Kurt, meaning like if we had to run 100 yards, first 30 yards we get out, everybody's pretty close, but their strides are longer, so they start to beat me 40, 50, 60 yards down the field, right? 4.48 guy, Dre ran 4.3. Curtis Savo ran 4.41. Like these are like real 4.4 dudes. This is not like everybody says I ran a 4.4 bullshit, right? No,
No,
these guys
I hate the
these guys are
amount of
rolling.
people that run
Yeah. We're
4-4.
rolling. I'm a 4.51, 4.48 guy. I could run a
Yeah.
4.48 if I need. Like if we had to train for it, I'll run a 4.48. But like they run 4.4 every day. But Dre was as quick as me too. Like I would run circles around those guys when we're doing COD stuff, change the direction.
Yeah.
I would poop, poop, poop. Like me and Mark Clayton. Mark Clayton was my competition, but Dre was the best. Dre was better than both of
Interesting.
us. Like
Okay.
Dre was, and so what happened is as we got older and matured as receivers, we became really good receivers. A lot of Dre's attributes weren't good enough. Like Dre couldn't. If you go watch Dre, his yards after the catch was the worst on the team. Drake catch a ball and
Mm.
find somebody to tackle him. You know damn well ain't nobody. Good luck tackling me, right? Like we can be in the phone booth and it's gonna be fun. Dre is gonna get tackled by the first guy, so it just made a lot
Yeah.
of sense. We had depth at receiver. Mike T got injured, and I mean Dre was an NFL dude. He had 1
Yeah.
year at DB and it's a first round draft pick. That says enough.
Yeah, 100%, man. The catch he had against Texas. I know we have a lot of younger fans. That interception, again, if you guys go back and just watch how far he is from that receiver and the makeup ground and then the jump,
Can I
right?
say something? Can I say something?
Go ahead, go ahead.
It looks exactly like Maine last week. Jacoby is in the exact same position. The difference is Dre gets across his body and catches the ball. It's actually eerily similar.
Mm,
Everybody was like, Jacoby got beat on that post. Dre is in the same situation. Dre jumps and crosses the guy's body, and you know, in
yeah.
Dre fashion.
Yeah. We
Anyway,
want to shout out to the super chat too on the guys saying Oklahoma Breakdown collab, man, that they do a good job. We appreciate all of the
I'm gonna hit Teddy's ass up and say, "What's up, bro? Let's
let's
do a
do
call."
it.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'll hit
that
him up.
that
I'll hit
that
him up.
show will break the internet, man. That's what we're all about, man. Trying to think anything else, kind of getting out of here. You went to Columbia in '98. Just from an away game standpoint, do you think other than just the travel itself, stadium's not going to be a massive factor? What do you think on that?
Oh, it's gonna be a factor. It's
Do
gonna
you
be a
think
factor.
so?
Bad
Okay.
blood, history. They hate us. Listen, we bullied them for decades, and in the mid '90s they got a little bit of that back, but then we put them right back in their place in the 2000s. Even some of their very best years, we were the reason they didn't get to play in the big games or the big
Yeah.
bowls. This game means a lot. By the way, on both sides, this
Sure.
is a game that solidifies BV as getting us back in a position to be a perennial bowl team, which is crazy to say. Every year, this game matters to them. This was supposed to be one of their years, right? This was like a big year
Hmm.
for them, and so obviously being able to beat OU in a year like this is going to matter a ton to them, and us, our ability to win on the road. I think this is one of those building blocks that you lean on next season, assuming you go out there and find a way to win this game. This is one of those ones you can hang your hat on, and you can talk about adversity, and you can talk about, the rocky parts of a year and all the different components that make every year unique. And even in that scenario, you find a way to win. Listen, that Auburn game is I'm just telling you, it's gonna carry its weight, because coach will be able to say, even in our worst, he'll be able to sell it. Like, we had a freshman quarterback, and right, first start, and we had all these injuries, and we found a way to win. This is another one of those games where those stories matter. Remember, facts tell, stories sell. I'm just telling you, when you're in the locker room, one thing about Bob would tell a story. Again, that's why, guys, when I say handkerchief A&T school for the blind and deaf, and all, that's Bob Stoops. Bob, Bob would sit us down. Men, you mean to tell me Handkerchief University A&T is going to come into Oklahoma and beat us? I don't see it. Do you see it? And we over there like, hell yeah, hell yeah. by the way, it's Nebraska. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh.
It's Nebraska Friday practice. Nah, by the way, true story.
Man.
Game day is going to be there. The whole deal. Bob sat us in the middle of the game field on a Friday. We all on a knee, and you just see him get emotional. And when he said handkerchief, if we're getting ready to play handkerchief something, oh, we ready to run through a wall. And so handkerchief A&T University of the junior college, whatever.
Yeah,
it had us fired up.
That's wonderful stuff, man. Wonderful stuff. Give me I mean, I think Jackson is the guy who probably decides this game. And then I'll say, I think in something like this, man, I mean, how important is it for Billy Bowman to play well in a game like this, right? Where you go ahead.
I don't think Billy is a game changer. So, I mean, yeah, hey, Bill, with all due respect, be the deepest guy on the field, rob the alley when you're asked, make the tackles when they come. We talked about this last week, right? The coaches are starting to create the explosive plays on defense with other players. We saw Eli coming off on the cat blitz. We saw Peyton coming in the C gap. We saw RSJ coming off the C gap. We haven't really seen Billy be a guy that they've tagged on defensive routes or defensive schemes, right? To be the guy to scheme him up into some type of successful play. By the way, that does not mean his innate ability to be a ball hawk, right, just dissipates. So hopefully the Billy we all know has the ability to, when the ball's in the air, go make a play on it and go do something with it afterwards. We need to see that. But this is just my own, again, this is no insider information, but it just looks to me like their faith in him being the leader has kind of dissipated. He's going to start. I don't think I don't think he's a guy who sits the bench or anything like that. He hasn't played that bad or relative to the other options. But I don't think I think the corners on defense. If you ask me, Mackie, what are the three things we need to make sure we win? Number one is Jackson needs to have a clean sheet. Limit turnovers, especially in the first quarter and the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's gonna be
first and fourth quarter, right? We need to come out the gates and hold on to the ball, possess the ball, right, and move the ball. And then at the end of the game, we need to, obviously, if this is a dogfight, right, we need to be able to make sure we don't make the crucial turnover at the end. Number two is, do we have the ability to run the football? By the way, that's probably should be number one, because if we get into pass, so here's what every team can watch on film and say, oh, this is all we got to do. If I was playing against us, I would simply say we got to win first down, because when OU gets into pure passing situations, we can't protect the quarterback. And it'll be interesting to see how much 12 personnel we run, and if we have tight ends, as guys in the backfield helping to fill gaps, because especially if we've got Brown at right tackle. If we've got Brown at right tackle, he's going to need a tight end. I would even say off the line of scrimmage, just because he needs that extra protection. And of course, you've got Howland on the other side, who's a puppy. You posted film on some of the things he's still working towards improving, right? So for us, number two will be, if we can run the football and we can run action and get Jackson on the edges, and we've got those two receivers back who can go out there and really get cooking, that's really positive for us. And then number three, I would say limiting Luther Burden, making sure he's not personally responsible for huge plays, explosive plays, touchdowns. How do we keep him in check? With our defensive game plan.
Yeah, well, let's get into predictions, man. That this is one that if OU wins this, you've got to 6 wins, right? You're going to go to a bowl. You still want to finish this year strong. That this is a year. I don't want to call it just kind of it's almost you give them a little bit of grace because of how this has happened, but it's OU, right? You want to win 10 games every single year. If you win these next 2 games or even split and then go to any kind of bowl game at this point, but you go and you get a win in the bowl game, maybe there's a little momentum behind, Jackson coming back. You go get a big name at OC. All of a sudden, you're feeling good going into next year. You've got a defensive line now that has another year of getting those young pups ready to go. You've got an Eli Bowen coming back, a Jacoby. You got all of this young talent you've been slowly building up. And again, I'll say it. It took Kirby Smart a few years to get it right. It took Venables a few years at Clemson to help with building that thing up and getting that right. And they've never been the same since Venables left. So if you go out and have success and get the win in this game, you set yourself up to achieve, some goals, right? It's not the goals that you had at the beginning of the year, but it's certainly some goals that I think are going to be meaningful to the players, to the guys playing the game, to the guys who want to go out there and perform. I'll go first prediction wise. Again, we don't really pick losses all that often, but I'm gonna go OU. I'm gonna go 24-21. I think this is I think Joe John has the offense moving again. I think they come out there, especially the early script. I think that was the biggest thing against Ole Miss was the first time we saw all season against good competition that the script worked, right? It was almost like he took time to sit, look at the film, and say, what can we come out early and get to that we can rep and these guys will know. And then from there, he took some of the things that were working that he found success on and kept running those. The early script, I think, will tell the tale. As you said, that first possession is going to matter a whole lot. If OU goes out there, gets a score, or even just moves the ball, right? They didn't score in the first possession against Ole Miss, but they moved the ball, and I think it gave them a lot of confidence that has carried over. So I'm going to go OU 24-21. Guys, make sure to put your predictions in the comments. Let us know what you guys think is going to happen today. D-Mac, your prediction for today's game.
Yeah, I'm just not very impressed by their offense. If you can keep Luther Burden under wraps, their running back being a little nicked up, I think also helps us as well. I think Weiss and some of the things he said the last year and a half have also. There are guys on this team who played with and against him as Sooners, and I think there's going to be a little bit of extra sauce. I hope there's a little extra sauce, which by the way, I hope he has some too. Um, it's going to be a grudge match game. I think it's going to be a junkyard dog game. We are not overly explosive. I don't think we're going to see any 69-yard touchdowns like we saw last week against Maine. By the way, it would be awesome if we did. Wild cards for us, though, we got 2 big-time guns coming back. And so at any moment, again, I wonder what Burks could have done in a more clearly defined offense. Like,
Yeah.
we haven't spoken to this a lot, but like when you go back and watch the film earlier in the year, it's kind of sad because they literally just told Burks to just quick game where they're not.
Yeah.
It wasn't even really defined routes all the time. It was
Didn't
literally
feel
there.
like they had packages for him or
Oh,
anything. And he was the best receiver by far on the squad, even
well,
with
okay, there you go. See, outside, inside. He was the best inside receiver by
mm,
far. No,
who is
Gibson and
yeah,
Anderson on
but
the
Gibson's
outside.
not playing though.
Well, I'm talking. No, I'm
Anderson's
just.
not.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm just
yeah,
talking about.
just
I'm
in
just talking about availability. I'm talking about if they're
yes.
all
Oh, I
there.
got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. But like
Okay.
with
Okay.
who they had playing,
100%. Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
even close.
They didn't scheme him. You're right. Actually, I see what you're saying. You're saying they didn't scheme him up in the games he was healthy this season when he was
Mhm.
the best player. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. 100% agree with that. I think we scored 3 touchdowns and a field goal, and I think they scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal. So what is that? 24-17? Is that right?
24-17.
24-17.
Yeah.
It's going to boil down to third down and turnovers. I believe our defense is going to take the ball from them. I like their backup for us. He's one of those guys that I think he's a good player for us. I think he's going to give it to us a couple of times, either a fumble. Um, the game gets out of hand. Believe it or not, Barry. If our defensive ends can get if our defensive ends get pressure,
Mm,
they're in trouble because he is not mobile. He is not mobile. Cook is mobile enough. Cook reminds me of like a Bake.
yes.
Cook
Yeah.
is like a Bake. If Bake gets on the edge, he can threaten you and throw the ball and run. He
But
wants to throw, but he can run. Their backup is not. Um, and he has a tendency to just throw the ball up and play 3 flies up with the football. And so if that happens, we've got to go take the football from them. 24-17. You were speaking to the season and what's to come. and we've been doing this 3 years, Barry, and I think every year I have always tempered my expectations of the returning like dudes. Right. Remember, we talked about like Danny and Billy, right? Those are the
Yes.
returning, and I'll be like, I like them and I love them. I like our young guys. Like this is the first
Mm,
time in a long time. That does not mean, again, I don't want people to think I don't like Billy or Danny, but some of the things that they've shown this year are things they've shown in previous years just without the splash plays. And we've talked about that a ton on this podcast. Some of the Eli Bowen is fundamentally sound. Like it's getting to a point where you can just expect him to do his job, and then when opportunity presents itself to be a stud.
yeah.
Versus Billy was a guy who might not do his job every play, but if opportunity presented itself, he would make a game changing play. I'm the type who like the fundamentalist, the disciplined guys, right? Eli does his job. If he's supposed to be deep third, he's a deep third, the deepest guy in his third. If he's supposed to trigger, right, and force the edge, he's triggering now. He's not waiting and creating space, right? And then of course, when plays come his way, he's there to make the play. We've got some young guys. Kip is more fundamentally sound than Danny. He just is. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? And he's a little undersized and so on and so forth, but he's a more disciplined player. Eli is a very disciplined corner, right? Jaden is a very disciplined zero. Like we've got some young guys in key positions that those guys, when they become leaders, I think they're going to be really true dynamic guys. And so
Yep.
Barry, we win this game, we gotta go into next week talking about O'Dub. I'm not going into. I don't give a damn if we play Bama. If we win this game and we stay relatively healthy, damn it, we got to go into next week talking about how to win that football game, and,
Yep.
and that'll be a fun week, right? And so that's how you look at it. It's 3 1 week seasons, and then a bowl season. And here's the carrot: if they win this game, we're bowl eligible for sure. I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think we're one of those teams that if we were 5-7, someone would want us just economically because we travel and we're a blue blood. But you get to this victory, that's what coach can sell all week. Damn it, guys, we have we have another season where we are a non-losing season. Right. And that's how they change the language. You go from a non-losing season if you can be 6-6 to a winning season if you can be 7-5. So this week he's going to sell them on a non-losing season. Next week he's going to sell them on a winning season. The week after that, he's going to sell them on a 3-game win streak or a 4-game win streak.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff matters. Looking forward to see how we play. 24-17. Good guys. Let's go get the dub.
I love it, man. And I want to thank everybody for hopping on today. These are always so much fun. I love the early risers here. Like I said, no need for big noon kickoff. No. You just tune in right here for the Barry and Mack show, and we will get you guys ready for the game. If you guys don't follow us, go follow us over there on social media. Damian on X is at D_Mac13. Follow me at BWise Fitness, at letter BWISE Fitness over on Instagram. Find him at Dame That Dude. Find me again at BWise Fitness, and make sure to go over to OU Insider, guys. Get yourself a membership. 10 thoughts, zooming in, interacting with the board, just fun stuff. Again, to highlight them that they've helped us up the quality on the show, get us to where we are right now, and we appreciate it. Share this with everybody. D-Mac, I was looking the other day, man. It was like 718 shares of the show on YouTube is what
Oh
we're up to.
wow.
So that
Awesome.
means the word is getting out. People are sharing it, guys. If you guys right now go over to X, and who knows, maybe we'll do something for you guys or something. Go over to X right now, tag the show, post us, tag the Barry and Mack show on X, and let everybody know this is where you go get the pregame, guys. We're trying to get the word out. Let everybody know. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe. I know almost 70% of our viewers are still not subscribers. So, guys,
Doing the marketing and the analytics, you're hilarious.
yeah, man. Guys, go subscribe, man. It's not that hard. Just hit the button. It's not that complicated. But D-Mac, closing thoughts before we jump out of here, man, and then we'll get this party started tonight.
Salute to all you guys. Passion project for me, man. Can you guys believe, like, to actually pay me money to do this, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Let's go have a good time. I'm gonna be on my X. Saturdays is when I don't call it X. Saturdays is when my Twitter be popping. So I'm gonna be on Twitter.
it's
Don't
Twitter.
you know what I'm saying? Have a good time on that thing. I'm gonna talk some smack. I always try to give nuggets out, things that I notice. I noticed a lot. I don't know if you noticed, but I brought up Coley's name, and now all of a sudden Coley's name's on the internet. Guys, I don't think Coley's an OC option. I brought up the offense. I went on like everybody, like, y'all, none of you guys said that we were running Levy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I posted that on my Twitter, and then everybody, oh, they went back to the old offense. So I just try to pay attention to the nuances. Whatever we see, we will, or I will be on Twitter. Sometimes I cut up. Don't mind me. If I say something ignorant, it's okay. I'm playing around. Yeah, one life, baby. So you gotta have fun while you do it. But guys, I interact on football with Twitter. My Instagram is more so business and family. I will occasionally post some OU stuff, but my primary space to talk football is on Twitter.
Best spot.
Tap in if you want. Let's go get a dub, man. I believe we're gonna win this game. I passionately believe that this is gonna be a game. Oh, November 23rd, I'm speaking to Tennessee's team. I'm booked it. They got me stand, team meal, sideline pass, the whole nine. So looking forward to going visiting my old quarterback, my second favorite team in the SEC this year, and gonna have a pep talk with those guys. They play UTEP, so it's not gonna be. But I'm excited. Cool. It'll be cool to be at Rocky Top and check a home game out. So
very cool.
Let's get the dub.
Absolutely, man. Very cool, man. Maybe if they go out there and dominate, maybe BV's like, "Hey, D-Mac, come on over here and talk to these guys." So, no. Yeah. Guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. You know, as D-Mac said, it's fun. It's exciting to see all the feedback, all of the conversation, all the comments. You guys have done a wonderful job supporting the show, and just want to thank everybody. But enjoy the game tonight. Get a night game, so got a full day of football on the platter, and then get to enjoy some OU Missouri this evening. Sooner Nation, it has been great. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you soon.